how's it going? Welcome back to my channel, Gardening in Cold Spring Harbor. For those of you who are new to my channel, I'm in Long Island, New York, Zone 7A. So in today's video, we're going to squash those garden watering myths, and we're gonna do it together with you guys. I know that there are so many articles, so many videos out there that tell us how we should water our garden, when we should water our garden, and at the end of the day, even after watching all those videos, reading all those articles, we're still feeling unsure, confused, uncertain. Well, if you have ever felt unsure, confused, or uncertain when it comes to watering our home gardens, then stick around, guys. This video is for you. For those of you looking for that online garden channel that offers tips, tricks, easy, yet proven gardening advice to take our gardens to the next level, stick around, guys. Go below this video, start with clicking the subscribe button below. And if you like the content of my videos, if you find my videos to be useful, helpful, informative, click the bell icon as well. YouTube will notify you every time I'll upload a new garden video. Now come with me, let's squash those garden watering myths together. The hottest part of the summer, it is even more important to make use of every single drop of water in our home gardens. So much information out there when it comes to watering our home gardens. Sometimes it can be very hard to separate fact from fiction. In today's video, I'm going to help you separate the fact from fiction. I'm going to go over 5 watering myths, and we're going to squash them together once and for all. So myth number 1, guys, is that plants, every single plant needs 1 inch of watering per week. Although 1 inch of water per week is the usual recommendations, and some even cite it as a rule of thumb. However, the watering needs depends widely across the type of plant and where you're growing that plant. Young seedlings and new transplants have very immature and small root systems. So yes, those guys, so your seedlings and your young transplants do need consistent moisture in order to thrive and to grow. So when talking about those 2 type of plants, yes, even daily consistent watering is recommended. Let's also consider the time of year it is, how hot it is, how humid it is. So if it's extra hot and extra humid, yes, your plants might need that extra boost of hydration. However, more mature trees, established plants and established shrubs, they have a more extensive, more mature root system. So they do not necessarily need to be watered every single day or even multiple times a day. Because what's going to happen is you're going to end up over watering the root system of your plant, and you're going to get the roots of your plants waterlogged, which is absolutely a no-no. So amount of water when it comes to your plant depends on various factors across the type of plant you're growing, the location in which you're growing it in, the type of soil that you're growing that plant in, as well as the air temperature and the time of the year. So all of those are very, very important factors to consider when watering our plants. The best way to water majority of the plants is to thoroughly water the entire root system of your plant, then to leave the plant alone. Let the soil dry out a bit. I'm not saying to stress out your plant and to let it sit in complete non-wet soil, but it's always a good idea to let that soil dry out a little bit before you reapply that moisture once again to the plant's root system. Another excellent tip when it comes to watering the plants in a home garden, it is always a good idea to water your plant rather slowly to make sure that all the liquid, all the water is being absorbed into the plant's root system versus running off and not being absorbed by the plant's root system. We don't want that water to run off. So water rather slowly so you can ensure that all of that moisture, all the hydration is going straight to your plant's root system. Another proven yet easy gardening tip that I want to share with you guys when it comes to watering our plants, You want to avoid those light daily sprinkles. You do not just want to apply a little bit of water here and there, everyday basis, multiple times a day. Why? Because that will encourage the root system of your plant to grow closer to that air surface. And how can that harm your plant? That will make your plant's root system more susceptible to drying out, especially during those hot, humid summer days. Rather than relying on a schedule, guys, water your plants when they need it, guys. Besides, when you're using a watering hose to water your plants, how would you know that you applied 1 inch of water to your plant's soil? How would you even measure that, guys? So don't be afraid to get into there. Feel that soil. Stick an index finger about 2 inches below the soil surface. And if you do not feel any moisture, roughly 2 inches below the soil surface, then guess what, guys? It's time to water your plants. Let's squash that myth number 2. And what is myth number 2 when it comes to watering? Is that if there's any sign of wilting to the leaves of your plant or even the flowers of your plant, that it's time to water your plant. Once again, guys, that is pure fiction. Yes, wilting to your plant's leaves does mean that there's potentially not enough moisture. But it doesn't mean that your soil in which your plant is growing is not wet below the soil surface. Don't forget, guys, that any damage or disruption to your plant's root system can and will cause the wilting of the foliage as well as the blooms. Hydrangea plant or hydrangea blooms are an excellent example when it comes to this watering myth. During the peak heat of the day, the blooms on my hydrangea plant, even the foliage, tends to bend down and wilt. However, every time I check the soil underneath this massive hydrangea plant, it is always plenty moist. So some plants do tend to wilt at the peak heat of the day. Then as the heat starts to go away towards the evening hours, the plant recovers itself and starts to perk up once again. In order for our plants to thrive in our home garden, they need an equal amount of moisture as well as air supply. Not enough moisture to our plant's root system, our plant's root system will dry out and will essentially die off. Too much water in the spaces between the soil particles will get filled up with water that will not have enough time between the waterings to dry out. So what happens to our plant root system? Also a big problem, as the roots in our plant will become waterlogged due to too much overwatering. Whether you're not providing enough moisture to your plant's root system or whether you're suffocating the roots by overwatering your plant, when the root system is struggling, it will not be able to transport that water, that moisture, to the foliage as well as the blooms of your plant. What happens when that water, that moisture cannot access the stems, the foliage, and the blooms of your plant due to the issue with the plant's root system? What happens to your plant? Your plant starts to wilt. So root diseases, physical damage due to maybe you were trying to pull out some weeds from the soil and you use the garden tool and you accidentally caused damage or stress to the plant's root system. Even soil-borne pests, bacteria, and insects can all cause stress to the plant's root system, hence resulting in the issue with hydration transportation from the root to the stem, to the foliage, to the blooms. Once again, resulting in your plants having to wilt. But again, guys, just because you see your plant wilting, don't rush out there and start watering your plant. The only way to tell if it's true lack of moisture is to check your soil for that moisture content. And again, guys, one of the easiest ways to do this is you to use your index finger and to put your finger inside your soil, roughly 2 inches down, and to see if you can feel any moisture roughly 2 inches below the soil surface. Let's squash that myth number 3. And what is that myth number 3? Is that if you're watering overhead on hot summer days, that will cause a scorch on your plant's leaves. That is pure fiction, guys. There are plenty of reasons, legitimate reasons, why we should avoid watering overhead on hot summer days. However, scorched leaves is not one of those reasons. The myth is that the water droplets act like tiny little magnifying glasses and will burn the plant's leaves. Has no basis in the fact. In fact, anyone who have watched a sun come out after a quick summer shower knows how quick those tiny water droplets do evaporate from our leaves. They will never ever cause a burn or a scorch mark on our foliage. Do you see some sort of a leaf damage, a foliage damage on your plant? Just remember, guys, leaf damage can be caused by so many factors and things out there. Now let's quickly get into some of the factors that can indeed cause leaf or foliage damage. So if it's not the overhead watering on our plant's leaves, what can cause leaf or foliage damage? Too much or too little soil moisture can and will impact your plant's foliage. Fertilizer burn from improperly diluted synthetic fertilizers can and will cause foliage damage. Insect or disease problems can and will impact and affect our foliage. Also, weather conditions such as wind or frost can also cause significant damage to our plants' foliage. Is it okay to water your plants in the sun? Well, my best advice that I can give you is try to avoid watering your plants in the middle of the afternoon when the sun is right over our heads, because you want to prevent all that moisture, all that hydration from evaporating rather quickly. But again, guys, there's no need to worry about the burns or scorch marks on your plant's leaves if you are indeed watering overhead in the peak sunlight. Is myth number 4. Myth number 4 is avoid overwatering your plants with a sprinkler. Yes, it is much better to water your plants directly below the foliage so the hydration, the moisture can go straight to the plant's root system. By doing that, we are avoiding and preventing evaporation of all that liquid, as well as we are minimizing the amount of moisture that is left on our plant's foliage, hence preventing potential pests and disease issues. There are times when an overhead shower is absolutely called for. On dry, windy days, there could be dust debris settling and building up on your plant's foliage, which in turn prevents or limits the plant's ability to photosynthesize, which is very, very important. Also, unwanted unnecessary insects such as aphids and or spider mites can be kept in check by hosing them off using a hose or even a sprinkler system. So our heat-stressed plants that have plenty of moisture to their root system, their soil is plenty moist, but you still see some leaves wilting, guys. That quick, brief, overhead showering can be so rewarding and so beneficial for them. It'll provide that instant cooling relief that the plant is absolutely looking for. It will not cause long-term benefit and will not harm your plant either. It'll provide that cooling relief that our plants are clearly looking for. Head watering is not the most efficient watering method in conservation standpoint. However, sometimes it is necessary and absolutely called for. So don't let that myth bother you guys? What is the myth number 5 that we want to squash together today with you guys? So the myth number 5 is that drought tolerant plants do not need to be consistently watered. Many young echinacea plants or even yarrow plants have perished, have died out simply because many gardeners thought and treated them as their drought tolerant plants and did not provide them with plenty of watering and plenty of moisture. Do many of these younger drought tolerant plants perish during their first year of life? And that is because they did not get consistent, adequate moisture during the planting time, as well as their first year of growth. Set out a new container growing plant. The shape and the size of that plant's root system will be confined to the shape and the size of the container in which it was growing, which is why many times when we pull out that new vegetable or herb or even a flower out of the container, we see that this root system is all matted up, all tangled up, which is another reason why I always recommend to loosen up that root system, the bottom of the root system, prior to you either repotting that plant or putting that plant into the soil. Loosen up the root system. You do not want to confine that root system any longer than it was already confined while growing and living in that container. Remember guys, if you have purchased a container grown plant from a garden or a nursery center and you transplanted it directly to the soil of your home garden, the first year of its life, your plant, especially its root system, is going to need adequate and consistent watering until those pot-constrained roots can grow out, venture out, and take up that spacing in your soil. So the first growing season, I always like to treat my perennials, my container grown perennials, just as I treat my annuals. So the first season, whenever I water my annuals, I water all of my perennials just as well until their root system gets established in the surrounding soil. During their second and subsequent growing seasons, your drought tolerant perennials might need supplemental watering, but that is only at the timings of extreme dry spells from Mother Nature. Remember guys, just because you purchased and planted a drought tolerant plant perennial in your home gardens doesn't mean that your plants cannot thrive and benefit from that little extra moisture that you can provide to your plant. Don't abandon your plant, guys. Drought tolerant absolutely does not mean that it does not require adequate moisture. This is it for this video, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me here on this gorgeous summer day in Long Island, New York, Zone 7A. In today's video, we squashed together not 1, not 2, but 5 watering myths when it comes to our home gardening. If you guys enjoyed watching this video, if you found this video to be useful, helpful, informative, show me that support by clicking thumbs up below. Leave your comments in the comment section below as well. I love communicating with each and every single one of you, and I personally respond to each and every one of your comments. Those of you guys who have not yet subscribed to my gardening channel, Gardening Cold Spring Harbor, don't wait anymore, guys. Don't be shy. Super easy for you to do, yet so pleasing and rewarding to me. Subscribe to my channel. All you have to do is go below this video and click the subscribe button. And if you are liking the content of my videos, if my videos are helpful, useful, if the gardening tips that I'm sharing in my videos are informative to you as well, click the bell icon. YouTube will notify you every single time I'll upload a new garden video. Be healthy, happy, be well, guys, and happy gardening, and I'll see you again in my new upcoming gardening videos. Bye, guys.